Hello and a very warm welcome to France 24's Euro 2020 show. Italy have made it to the final of the tournament after beating Spain on penalties 4-2 after a 1-1 draw. Who to face the Azzurri in the final? England or Denmark? James Vassina joins me. Hi there, James.
Hi, Simon.
To try and answer that question, and we'll also be looking back at this enthralling match between Spain and Italy in the semi-final. Well, the Azzurri have qualified for the final of Euro 2020 after beating Spain in an explosive encounter. Considered as the best team in the tournament until the semi-final, the Azzurri were dominated by a sensational Spanish team that lacked that cutting edge to finish off the game. Federico Chiesa opened the score with a sensational killed effort in the 60th minute, only for Alvaro Morata to level with 10 minutes remaining. Extra time was uneventful, and in the penalty shootout, Gianluigi Donnarumma saved Morata's penalty, and Jorginho scored the winner. James, until now, we saw a free-flowing Italian football side. This was a much more classic performance from them.
It was, and not because they chose to. They were forced into it this time. We were used to in this tournament so far seeing Italy go very much forward, attacking, very much in control of the game. That was not the case, and we kind of have had a feeling that this could come, obviously knowing with Spain's strategy, its possession-based game, but to see it actually applied to Italy, this force that we'd seen come in, this rising force, it was a bit surprising, to be honest. That first half, watching the team who we saw dominate so much sit back really far in its, deep down in its side of the pitch, was a sight that we hadn't seen until now. And in a way, they didn't look as though they were really in the game at that point because it wasn't what we were used to be seeing. And there were many balls given away, Donnarumma giving away as well. It just didn't seem to be the first half. It just seemed to everything goes Spain's way, who in a way were not taking advantage of the chances that they had, given the possession that they had. But that all turned around afterwards, clearly in the second half, because something must have gone on for Italy to come back and manage to really revive themselves, even though things obviously did go into extra time. But it wasn't, as you say, it wasn't the game that we saw up until now. Very different, especially from a side who've changed things around a lot.
Considering this, does this make Italy stronger going into this final, that they were tested this way, that they had to adapt, or does it show weaknesses and frailties in this team's system?
I think it's, in a way, giving them this extra... I mean, it's a team that needs this experience, and they've had this different experience this time, which they hadn't had so far. So that's always a plus. When you look on the counter, they were great. They were, again, there on the attack. The first goal, brilliant. I mean, great play from the team there. The tackle from Laporte, I thought, was brilliant as well. But it was an excellent... You could see that is where Italy is and just was not used to being in that. But Spain's level, managing to get through to their defence as well, does bring in questions again about their defence, about how they should be in those kind of cases. But it was a definite test, and I'm sure that it's prepared them. And whoever they're going to be facing in the next round, they will not be taking this lightly. You could see at the end of the game how happy they were. You know, it was pretty much you could look at those last images and thought that they'd won the tournament already. It has not yet, or we'll see happens. But clearly a very, very happy side and very relieved side, because to go into finals on penalties must be very stressful as an Italian or Spanish fan.
Always a very nerve-wracking experience, isn't it? We've spoken about Spain. I think we need to praise them. They did dominate possession. They had plenty of opportunities, as you mentioned, James. But perhaps when you look at the team, and especially the three players up front, Dani Olmo, very good in the game, but poor finishing. Oyarzabal, also guilty of a glaring miss. And the lack of a striker. Is that what penalised them?
Well, I mean, that is when you look at it, it clearly is what's missing. I mean, they have so much possession, and to come up with so much little threats out front I've got 16 shots in the game, 5 on targets. They're not creating the threats that they should be. I mean, if you're in control of the game that much, you should push that to your advantage. They were very much, when we were talking about it earlier, going through Italy's right side, which was, I thought, kind of surprising, quite adventurous. I thought they were going to go testing Emerson first, because obviously with Spinazzola out, maybe that was going to be something that was going to be a bit difficult for Italy, not having things flowing quite so well. They changed things around afterwards, but When it comes to, I mean, the midfield, it was very much a game, a lot happening there between the two sides. But those finishes, I mean, it must be very, very stressful at times being a fan, because you have so much, you have these golden opportunities. I mean, the goal wide open, and Donnarumma sometimes not even there, and they're not taking advantage of it, and they need to be, because otherwise they end up having these situations going to extra time so often as they have done, and missing out on their leads, which just happens so often as well.
Yeah, Spain played in 3 extra times, 90 minutes. That's almost the equivalent of an entire match altogether. But this is a very young Spanish team. We mustn't forget that. James, looking ahead at this Spanish team, how do you assess their campaign? Will they be happy? And what's in store for the future? It must be quite bright, no?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you can't say it hasn't been a good campaign. I mean, you've got a new head coach that's come in, a completely fresh team. They've got further than they did in the last Euros. So they're going to go back wherever, where they are now, and be happy with that result, because it's something to work from. And I mean, Luis Enrique, of course, took, you could say, a gamble. I mean, clearly he's a gamble in the eyes of the public for many in Spain, that's for sure. But it's worked out, because he's managed to get so far, and I'm sure that's going to be something for them to work on. There's plenty, as we've said, but it's a good result for them coming in as they are at this stage of their lifetime, if you like, as a team. Great result for them.